Game 4 in the books. We're all tied up. Let's talk Game 5 today and talk about what we saw in Game 4, what takeaways can help us with the spread, right? We ended up doing really well. We took the Bucks the last two on the spread. We took the Suns the first two. We're having a good time right now in these NBA Finals from a betting perspective, where most of the action lies at this point. We got some props. We went 3 of 5 in the last game. Not great. We'll take 3 of 5. And then we got the DFS plays. I got it all projected out for you. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Game 5s. We have a competitive series, a nice series, as now all the teams have won at home. We shift back to Phoenix for Game 5. Let's break it down. Ladies and gentlemen, fellas, it is currently, as I record this, 4:30 a.m. I have a flight in 1 hour. I was taking notes during the game. I wasn't planning on doing a video for Game 5, but I was watching the entire game. It was a competitive and fun game. Had notes being taken the entire game, so we have some analysis from that standpoint. Did the projections late last night, so we have all the projections ready for Game 5. So unless some wonky news comes out, yes, there's 2 days, right? I'm recording this 2 days before the game start. Unless some wonky news comes out, this is going to be 100% relevant for you. The beautiful thing about there only being one game now, one game every 2 days in the NBA. So if anything changes, we'll have it on Patreon. You can like and subscribe, and I would greatly appreciate that, as now we are guaranteed 6 games and a strong chance at getting a Game 7 NBA Finals, which takes us even closer to the NFL preseason. Let's start on the Milwaukee side, where it's hard not to mention Mr. Christopher Middleton, the all-star who looked like a shining star last night. That thing came right off the top of my head. Look, he was massive in the clutch. He made all of his free throws down the stretch. He had 2 big three-pointers in that final quarter, and he ended up shooting 15 of 33 overall. He had 3 of 8 overall in the game from 3, but he was +8 in this game, which was second only to actually Pat Connaughton, who's been very solid for this team so far. I have Chris Middleton, who played 43 minutes, the most in the game last time out. I've met 42 this time around. Now, they ended up shrinking their rotation, as something that we could talk about from the Bucks. They ended up going with 8 men. Now, 8 men sounds like, that's what they've been playing, which is basically has been, but they usually have been playing Bryn Forbes anywhere from 12 minutes the previous series to 4 minutes in the most previous game to 0 minutes in this one. So we're going to be giving Bryn Forbes 0 minutes. Where did those minutes go for the most part? Well, Jrue Holiday played 42, so it's like a minute more there. Jeff T gets 11, so it's like 2 to 3 minutes more there. Pat Connaughton solidifies 30 plus. It's basically where they go. It was filtered out, not one guy getting them all. On the opposite side of Mr. Chris Middleton, another piece of the quote-unquote big 3 was Jrue Holiday. And Jrue Holiday is going to be, as my fantasy group message seems to make it, a very polarizing player. He's a fantastic, if not the best defensive point guard in the NBA right now, and he has been showing that. The problem is he has not been shooting. Now, in Game 3, he hit some big threes. He had a solid night offensively and probably his best night offensively in the postseason. But in Game 4, he does not show consistency. He goes 4 of 20 overall. He shoots 0 of 5 from three-point range. But he still contributed. 7 rebounds, 7 assists. That's solid. But the big thing was he ends up shooting 4 of 20. Not great. 25%. About half of his normal efficiency, right, in this game. 4 of 20. Not very good, Bob. Not good at all. But what does he do and go out there? He still finishes +8 in this game. Why is that? Because he dominates Chris Paul on defense. He stalemates Chris Paul. So they ended up winning and beating the Suns by 8 points in the minutes that Jrue Holiday was on the court, even though he wasn't producing all that much on offense. In this game, Chris Paul on the opposite side was held to 5 of 13 shooting, 0 of 2 from three-point range, and did not attempt a single free throw attempt. Chris Paul only had 10 points in the game. This was a stone-cold stunner performance, very similar to what Jrue Holiday did in Game 3 on the defensive end against Mr. Devin Booker, who shot poorly overall. I think 3 of 14 overall, 1 of 7 from 3. He actually played on offense in that game, Jrue Holiday, so it was a really great performance Game 3. But this Game 4 performance, although not great on offense, Middleton, Giannis, those guys are getting it done enough that this defense is really all they're asking for at this point, or at least they're fine to take it. They'll take more, but they'll take the defense at this point, and how elite he is playing at just absolutely neutralizing, like a shutdown cornerback, the best players on the Suns. On the screen right here in this column where all the numbers are in colors, you can see the minutes projections, which I'm giving the big 3. They each played 42. Middleton played 43 the last game. I'm giving them each 42 minutes of play here. Now, the interesting thing is I thought Brook Lopez would see more run, and he was on pace to see more run. Brook Lopez continues to start. He did pick up 2 quick personal fouls in the first quarter. He checks out 5 minutes in the first quarter, meaning that he, loses about 2 minutes in the first quarter, maybe even 3. So he loses some minutes there. He only ends up playing, though, in this game 19.2 minutes. Why is that? Well, because Devin Booker was doing whatever the hell he wanted in isolation and in pick and roll. It helps when you're making crazy shots. Devin Booker shot 7 of 10 overall from 2-point range in the paint, and that was a lot of that that having to come in the pick and roll game. Conventional pick and roll, you get one-on-one versus big, it's drop coverage. They don't know whether to drop back because of an alley-oop to Ayton, which happened only once in this game, or to just come up on you, and Devin Booker, being a taller guard, was just shooting over and making the shots. You have to make the shots for it to be effective, was making the shots that ended up pushing Mr. Brook Lopez off the court pretty quickly. Brook Lopez did not play a single minute in the fourth quarter after Devin Booker had an 18-point third quarter. Then Devin Booker, after that, they adjust. They don't put Brook Lopez on the court. They don't really put a big on the court. They did have points out there, Bobby Portis, but not as traditional of a big as a Brook Lopez. And because of that, and really in part because of that, you ended up seeing Devin Booker not have as successful of a fourth quarter. Now, Devin Booker did pick up his 5th personal foul during that time, and he ended up sitting out for about 4 to 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, which probably normally would not happen. But it all kind of plays into account here. You saw him actually play well when he was on the court in that game, Brook Lopez, 4 of 9 shooting, 6 of 6 from the free throw line in 19.3 minutes of play. He scored 15 points, but he only got 20 minutes. He was a game worse, minus 13, because of the opposite of Drew Holiday, defensive reasons. If you can play defense, you'll stay on the court. Look at PJ Tucker. Look at Pat Connaughton to an extent right now. I mean, specifically PJ Tucker. If you can't play defense, but you can play offense, you're probably not staying on the court in the postseason. They'll find somebody else to patch up that game for you, especially when Brook Lopez is not known as the most important offensive player on this team. So team stats, they continue to shoot poorly from 3. They're shooting 7 of 29 in that last game, 24%, somehow reducing their 31% NBA playoff three-point shooting. This is very bad for Milwaukee. They shot 40% overall. Not great, but they dominated everywhere else. Milwaukee has been the better team for the last 2.5 to 2 3/4 of these games with Giannis healthy. They dominated offensive rebounds, 17 to 5. Dominated in turnovers, only 5 to 17 for Phoenix because they caused 11 steals to Phoenix's 3. 15 fast break points to 0. An impressive somehow in some ways, 0 fast break points for Phoenix. So all of this said, I now get the opening line and where it's at right now, +4 for this Milwaukee team to go on the road and now win, to go back to Phoenix and have to be the first team to win at road to take the advantage 3-2. I'm actually waiting on this line. The line has moved. It opened at, I believe, -3 for Phoenix, and now it's moved to -4, meaning that if you're waiting to bet Milwaukee, you'll probably get a better line as time goes on, although public money could come in quickly and say, hey, Milwaukee's won 2 in a row. 2 in a row is somewhat convincingly. Game 3 definitely. Last game, end up winning it down the stretch. Hey, I'm just going to go with Milwaukee. I like Milwaukee in this one. I want to see if I can get a better number. +4 might be the best number you can find. And that doesn't mean I like Milwaukee to win on the money line. 4 points is a lot of points, right? 1, 2, 3-point games, 4 points for the push, right? To lose by 5 or more is where it's at right now for you to lose that bet. That's not bad. I'll take that for the team that I think has been playing by far better the last couple of games. The only thing they're not doing is getting the ball to go in the hoop, which obviously is very important in basketball, right? But in terms of their defensive matchups one-on-one, that's been great. In terms of getting the open shots, that's been great. In terms of playing defense, by far better, and that's what you're seeing in overall plus-minuses, turnover differentials, offensive rebound department. They have all the advantages. The main advantage that Phoenix has at this point is the ability to get hot from 3, right? And then also they have this advantage of the pick and roll, which did show its head, especially in quarter 3 of game 4. So as it stands right now, if I show you the rest of the minutes projections, you can see all of them on the screen right now. It's nothing too crazy from game 4. I think a lot stays pretty similar here. I think Brook Lopez gets a couple more minutes. He gets some of the foul trouble minutes back. He tries to adjust in the pick and roll. That's been now twice in the series. He's been dusted there. And in one of the games in game 2, he did adjust. So we'll see if that happens. I'm splitting those minutes between Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. 22 for Lopez, 18 for Portis, and just giving a lot more minutes to Giannis as I have now at 42. Tucker and Connaughton, 32 minutes apiece. Jeff Teague, 10, and no Bryn Forbes from me. So from this team right now, again, I am leaning to take the +4 and seeing if we can get a better number on Milwaukee. And I'm looking, as it stands right now, at my DraftKings projections, which are on Patreon down below. The optimizer, a bunch of other tools on there for MLB optimizer and projections, MLB, PGA, we're going to be having as well, MMA as well, and then we're going to be having the NFL come shortly, so check it all out down below. But my ranked plays on this team would be Giannis Antetokounmpo still. He is my highest projected player as it stands right now by 16 fantasy points. Absolutely absurd. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Pat Connaughton, PJ Tucker, and Jeff Teague. Those are the 6 guys I have. I do not currently have Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis in a player pool. Now, I will at least tell you that I would have those guys in a player pool if their ownership came in very low. But that's where I'm at right now. I do believe that you're going to be seeing those guys a little bit overpriced, both of them for maybe playing around 20 minutes apiece. Tough for them to get there. And before we transition, and I have to catch my flight in literally 45 minutes, I have to leave. So before we transition right now to the other side of this one with Phoenix, let's look at the player props that I've taken, and only one of them from Milwaukee, 2 from Phoenix. I've taken the over 12.5 fantasy points for Bobby Portis. Now, I do not think that Bobby Portis has an outstanding game, but 12.5 is too few. I think Bobby Portis plays a minimum of 14 minutes in this game. He actually played better than Brook Lopez in the pick and roll in the last game. I have Bobby Portis Portis right now playing 18 minutes, and those 18 minutes for me are resulting for over a fantasy point per minute producer, and Bobby Portis scoring about 18 fantasy points, well over the 12.5 you're seeing right here. So I'll take Bobby Portis over 12.5 fantasy points. You can follow these player props down below on Prize Picks. You have an opportunity to become a millionaire. Yes, a millionaire. It seems fucking crazy, but you can become a millionaire if you sign up with the code SAL, if you're a new depositor, and they send you 5 questions. You answer them. If you get them right, they're not easy questions, but if you get them right, you become a millionaire. And if not, either way, you get a free bet up to $100, depending on how much you deposit. So use that all down below using the code SAL. Let's now transition to the Phoenix side of the ball. Phoenix side of the ball, Booker finally ends up dominating in the ISO and in the pick and roll. He had that 18-point third quarter, 17 of 28 overall, 42 points. He did it without shooting a three, right? He's now 1 of 10 from three-point range in the last 2 games, or without making a three. He shot 0 of 3 in this game. He had 38 points through 3 quarters, was on pace for 50 before picking up a 5th personal foul in the 4th quarter, kind of derailing it, and only finishing with 4 fourth quarter points. Could have been a different game if he ended up staying as hot in this one, but he ends up getting it going. That was fantastic, just like Middleton got it going. But on the opposite side of that one, like Drew Holiday wasn't doing anything on offense, Chris Paul really wasn't doing much in this game. Holiday at least +8 in the game, CP3 -10 in the game. In game 4, he shot 5 of 13 overall, 0 of 2 from three-point range. Only ended up seeing 10 points in this game, and he truly looked gassed down the stretch for an older player, was not contributing much on the defensive end as he was getting gassed. So yes, it was complete opposites in this one, the opposite of adults. And the reason why I believe he was a little bit gassed, he only played 36.5 minutes compared to his normal 38 to 39. There was some foul trouble with 4 personal fouls. Most of them came late. He still played all the 4th quarter, so I'm not too sure if that really affected things, but it seems like they can't get him up to 40 to 42 minutes and have him play at all effectively at this point. They're getting 2 days off in between games. It's now a best of 3 series, and they're going home, so maybe we see Chris Paul get a little bit more run. I am currently projecting Chris Paul for 38 minutes of play. Booker, who was in massive foul trouble, only played 38. I would have seen him honestly, he would have played probably 44 in that game, but he plays 42. Booker should have also had, if you were watching the game as I was taking notes, Booker should have also probably had in this game about 8 personal fouls. Probably should have ended up getting called for 9, but it is what it is. Some other things to break away from this game. Crowder only snags 6 points off of free throws. So we were saying, you know what, Crowder's not that great of a play. He's not going to play a lot of small ball 5, and he didn't because Ayton ended up playing 40 minutes. But the thing that Crowder got away with, 3 blocks, 3 steals. For fantasy purposes, that's 6 points on DraftKings. For Prize Picks purposes, that ends up being 8 points. So 3 blocks, 3 steals is a big one. He shoots 6 of 7 from the free throw line, which is not a place that he normally goes to. So overall in this game, Jay Crowder did not play all that well. He shot 3 of 10 overall. 30% is not good. 3 of 9 from three-point range. That is fine, but that's where most of his scoring ended up coming from. He had 9 of his 10 attempts from three-point range. I think I might have said free throw range, but he had 6 overall free throw attempts. So Jay Crowder ends up having overall that good game, but I think it's still sort of not indicative of what people are expecting, right? He gets the rebounds, but he's mainly playing from three-point range. He was in the game a lot, though, because of how well he was playing. Those free throws were somewhat fluky for a player who normally hangs out by the three-point line. Gave him 36 minutes in this game. Mccall Bridges continues to struggle, continues to be overpriced, but now at least he's not more expensive than Jay Crowder. At $6,800, I actually like Mccall Bridges in this game from a player prop standpoint. The price point reducing. He only plays about 30 minutes this past game. I have him at 32 in this game. He only shot 4 times. Made 3 of those 4 attempts, but only shot 4 times. They're going to need more from Mccall Bridges if they want to hold a chance in the series. Now, very similar to Drew Holiday, at least Mccall Bridges is contributing on the defensive end. In a game where most of the starters were -9, -10, he only ends up being -3 in this game. He was a better plus-minus than everybody in this game for this team outside of Devin Booker, Torrey Craig as well, but that's a limited sample. Worth pointing out that they only played an 8-man rotation as well. The Suns, no Frank Kaminsky, more overall Torrey Craig, and that's basically the biggest bump up that you saw. You saw a couple more minutes for Ayton as he stays out of foul trouble, but that's to be expected. You did see more minutes for Cam Johnson. We should call about that or point that out. He played about 28 minutes in this game, 28.5 minutes. I gave him 26 moving forward. Looks like a solid value play. The Bucks controlled Ayton in this game. He only scored 6 points, only 2 second-half shots in this game. No free throw attempts. They were forcing him to get away from the basket, so they controlled him. He still had 17 rebounds because he's like the only guy in this team that's an actual big and can rebound on the opposite side of the court. Those 17 rebounds were good, but this Bucks team still dominated Phoenix in terms of a rebounding rate department. The total overall shots, they shot well, 51% in this game, but they only shot 30% from 3 on only taking 23 attempts. For a team that's been shooting like 35 to 45 attempts during the regular season and postseason. 23 attempts. What's an adjustment? Shoot more threes, right? Make those threes. Mccall Bridges, shoot more threes. Devin Booker, start making your threes. Just shoot more threes and actually make this a modern NBA game instead of an in-the-paint game that they're dominating right now with the Milwaukee Bucks with guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo and just playing solid defense, right? So a part of that is the Bucks defense. Part of it is just the way that they're play calling and scheming. This last game was heavy ISO game in the pick and roll. That's fine if that's the way that it's going, but shoot more threes overall, right? They ended up losing the offensive rebounding rate by 12. 12. They had no points overall in the fast break. Not a good performance. So my overall favorite plays, though, from this team, the price drop on DraftKings right now on Chris Paul is too much. $8,800. Give me Chris Paul as my favorite play. Then Ayton at just $8,000. Then number 3, Cam Johnson. Torrey Craig is another punt play, and Devin Booker. Now, I said Devin Booker 5th. That does not mean he's a god-awful play, but he is still expensive when a lot of guys on his team are reducing, and I don't expect him to have another 18-point quarter. He can have a good game, but he had an 18-point quarter, and he had 42 real-life points with not much peripheral stats. 1 rebound, 2 assists, right? So it's not like you're getting much more off of it. Yes, he scores about 50 in the DraftKings department because of those some peripherals, but if he scores 36 in this game, he's not really doing much for you. So Devin Booker would be my 5th favorite play. In a player pool is the rest of the guys in their rotation. Mccall Bridges, who had no ownership the last time out, Cam Payne, and Jay Crowder. Now, I do have 2 prize picks and 2 player props from the Phoenix side of the ball, and let's get into those right about now. Those 2 are going to be Mccall Bridges, which is very scary after he only sees 4 shot attempts in the last game, and he's focusing on his defense, but Mccall Bridges over 20 fantasy points. Look, as poor as Mccall Bridges played in that last game, he still goes out there from a prize picks perspective and puts up about 16 fantasy points, and he plays as poor as he could, only 25.5 minutes for a guy who frequently plays 34 this season. You end up seeing only 4 shot attempts, still gets a block, still gets 5 rebounds. So he goes out there and he still gets you 16 points. So that's as bad as it's going to get, in my opinion, unless he sees 20 minutes, which I don't know how they're going to do. They need his defense and also his 3-ball. And then I'll take Chris Paul over 40.5. I'll take the bounce back here on Chris Paul over 40.5 for me. His 7 assists, believe it or not, were a low for him during these NBA finals. So I think you're going to see a little bit better shooting, 5 of 13 overall, make some threes, stay out of foul trouble, pick up another minute or 2. Over 40.5, as I currently have as it stands, Mccall Bridges at 23 points. We took the over 20. I currently have Chris Paul right now at 44.1 points. So we take the over 40.5 there. So that is where we're at right now. I appreciate all of you beautiful people tuning in to this Game 5 analysis. The Bucks +4 is what I'm on, but I'm seeing if it goes up to +4.5, +5. I might just hit it at +4 and then hit it again if we get that to ensure we get at least the +4 in there. The 3 player props we told you about, you can check them out down below over on Prize Picks. Potentially you can become a millionaire, limited time only, and also, why not? Why not get the free bet? Those 3 props you can tailor. Find any others that you like. We talked about DFS. Any news comes out, we will update for that. But that is Game 5. I have to actually leave in 15 minutes, take a shower, finish packing in these 15 minutes, make sure that I get on my flight for my friend's wedding. Never miss the wedding, never miss the funeral. Hey, and do not miss this Game 5. Best of luck in the betting streets. May the betting gods be ever in your favor.